Title: The Lost Dangerous Guardian of Earth Awakens. The heavens stood frozen in shock. The year was 2847 and the galaxy had forgotten about Earth. Most alien races thought humans were dead. They believed Earth was just an empty rock floating in space. The planet appeared on old star maps with a warning label that said, "Dead System. No life detected." For 800 years, no signals came from the small blue world that once housed billions of people. Dr. Elena Vasquez walked through the underground tunnels beneath what used to be New York City. Her footsteps echoed in the empty corridors. She was the last scientist left on Earth. Maybe the last human who still remembered the old days. Every day she made the same journey down into the depths of the planet, past layers of metal and crystal that most people had never seen. The tunnels led to a chamber that glowed with soft blue light. Ancient machines hummed quietly in the walls. These were not human machines, though humans had learned to use them. The technology came from a race so old that even their name was forgotten. They had left these gifts behind before disappearing into the stars millions of years ago. In the center of the chamber lay a figure on a bed made of living crystal. The man looked like he was sleeping, but Elena knew better. Commander Marcus Kane had been in this state for 8 centuries. His chest rose and fell slowly. His face looked peaceful, but there was power in his stillness. Power that could shake the foundations of the galaxy. Elena checked the readings on her tablet. Everything looked normal. The Guardian's life signs were stable. The ancient alien technology that kept him alive continued to work perfectly. She had been doing this job for 30 years, just like her mother before her and her grandmother before that. Her family had watched over the Guardian for generations. "Still sleeping, Marcus," she whispered to the still figure. "The galaxy is quiet today. No threats, no invasions, just like yesterday and the day before that." But Elena was wrong. Far above, in the cold space between the stars, something was moving toward Earth. The Celestial Consortium ruled most of the galaxy. Now, 7 different alien races had joined together to form the most powerful government the stars had ever seen. They controlled trade routes, made laws, and decided which planets could be colonized. Their ships were fast, and their weapons were strong. They believed they were the masters of the universe. The Zephyrians were the proudest members of the consortium. They were tall, blue-skinned beings with forearms and eyes that glowed like stars. They thought they were better than every other race. They had conquered 50 worlds and enslaved 20 different species. Now, they wanted more. Admiral Keithvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Stellar Dominator. His ship was 5 miles long and carried enough firepower to destroy a moon. Behind him, a fleet of 200 ships followed in perfect formation. They were heading toward a small yellow star that the old maps called Sol. "Admiral," said his second-in-command. "We are approaching the target system. Should we begin scanning for defenses?" Keithvar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Defenses? Commander, this system has been dead for 800 years. The humans who lived here are extinct. There is nothing to defend against us." But the Admiral was wrong. Earth had defenses. They were just sleeping like the Guardian who protected them. The Zephyrian fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Immediately, sensors that had been silent for centuries began to wake up. Hidden stations in the asteroid belt started sending signals. Ancient satellites around Jupiter and Saturn powered up their receivers. Deep space monitors that looked like ordinary rocks suddenly blazed with energy. On Earth, in the crystal chamber, something changed. The Guardian's breathing became faster. The machines around him hummed louder. Elena looked up from her tablet as warning lights began flashing on the walls. "What's happening?" she said aloud, though there was no one to answer her. The alien technology responded to the threat above. Power flowed through circuits that had been dormant for 800 years. The chamber filled with golden light. Elena had to shield her eyes as energy patterns danced across the walls like living lightning. Commander Marcus Kane's eyes moved beneath his closed lids. His fingers twitched. For the first time in 8 centuries, the Guardian began to dream. In his dreams, Kane saw the ships approaching Earth. He felt their hostile intentions like a cold wind across his consciousness. The ancient alien technology that had merged with his human mind showed him everything. He saw Admiral Keithvar giving orders to his fleet. He heard the Zephyrians planning to strip mine Earth's oceans and mountains. He felt their contempt for the extinct human race. Marcus Kane had been a soldier before he became the Guardian. He had fought in the last great war between humans and the Consortium. He remembered the day when Earth's leaders decided to end the conflict by withdrawing from galactic society. Humans were too dangerous, they said, too powerful, too likely to become the very monsters they fought against. So Earth went silent. Humans pulled back their fleets and shut down their communications. They made their world look dead and empty. They chose exile over war, peace over conquest, but they also chose to be ready just in case someone decided that a dead world would be easy to take. The Guardian Protocol was humanity's final insurance policy. One volunteer would merge with the ancient alien technology. One person would stay awake while the rest of the world slept. One Guardian would watch over Earth until the threat was gone or until the end of time. Marcus Kane had volunteered because he understood the cost. The alien technology would keep him alive, but it would also change him. He would become something more than human, but also something less. He would gain the power to protect his world, but he would lose the ability to live a normal life among his people. Elena watched in amazement as the Guardian's vital signs spiked. His heart rate doubled, then tripled. The crystal bed began to glow brighter. Energy flowed through the chamber like a river of stars. "Marcus," she whispered. "Are you waking up?" High above the Earth's surface, the Zephyrian fleet moved closer to the planet. Admiral Keithvar studied the readings from his sensors. Earth looked exactly like the report said it would. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds, but no cities, no technology, no signs of intelligent life. "Sir," reported his tactical officer. "We're detecting some unusual energy readings from the planet's surface. They appear to be coming from underground." Keithvar waved a dismissive hand. "Probably just natural geological activity. These dead worlds often have unstable cores. Begin the landing sequence. I want mining operations to start within 6 hours." But the energy readings were not natural. They were the first signs of something that had been sleeping for 800 years. Something that was very much alive and very unhappy about being disturbed. In the crystal chamber, Elena stepped back as the Guardian's eyes suddenly opened. They were brown like they had always been, but now they held flecks of silver that moved like liquid metal. Marcus Kane sat up slowly, his movements careful and precise. When he spoke, his voice carried harmonics that made the crystal walls sing. "How long?" he asked. 800 years, 2 months, and 16 days, Elena replied. She had been keeping count. Kane nodded and stood up from the crystal bed. He was taller than Elena remembered from the historical records. The alien technology had changed his body as well as his mind. His muscles moved with fluid grace. His skin had a faint luminescent quality. When he turned his head, Elena could see circuit patterns just beneath the surface of his neck. Admiral Keithvar stared at his tactical display with growing confusion. The energy readings from Earth were getting stronger by the minute. What had started as small blips on his sensors were now massive power signatures that made his ship's computers struggle to calculate their true strength. "Sir," his communications officer reported. "We're receiving signals from all across the system. Someone is activating technology that's been dormant for centuries." "Show me," the Admiral commanded. The main view screen lit up with a display of the solar system. Red dots began appearing everywhere. Around Mars, hidden bases were powering up. In the asteroid belt, what had looked like ordinary rocks revealed themselves as weapon platforms. Near Jupiter, massive structures that had been disguised as moons started broadcasting identification signals. "This is impossible," whispered the admiral's second in command. The intelligence report said this system was completely dead. Keithvar's 4 hands clenched into fists. The intelligence reports were wrong. Send a message to Consortium Command. Tell them we may have discovered a hidden human settlement. But even as he gave the order, the admiral knew this was more than just a settlement. The energy patterns his ships were detecting suggested technology far beyond what the Consortium had ever encountered. Whatever was waking up in the Sol system, it had been sleeping for a very long time. Deep beneath Earth's surface, Marcus Kane felt every system coming online. The alien technology in his body connected him to a network that spanned the entire solar system. He could see through the sensors of every hidden platform. He could feel the power flowing through weapons that had been charged and ready for 800 years. "Elena," he said without turning away from the crystal console. "You should go to the surface. What happens next might not be safe down here." "I'm not leaving," Elena replied firmly. "My family has watched over you for generations. I'm not abandoning my post now." Kane looked at her with those strange silver-flecked eyes. "This isn't your fight." "Yes, it is," Elena said. "Earth is my home, too." The Guardian nodded slowly. "Then stay close to me. The alien technology will protect you as long as you're near." Above them, the first Zephyrian scout ships entered Earth's atmosphere. They expected to find empty cities and abandoned settlements. Instead, they found something much more surprising. The cities were not empty. Humans lived there, millions of them. They worked in their fields and walked through their streets just like they had for centuries. But something was different about these people. They moved with purpose. They looked up at the alien ships without fear. And when the Zephyrian vessels opened fire on what they thought was an easy target, they discovered that humans had learned new ways to protect themselves. Force fields shimmered into existence around every city. The Zephyrian energy weapons struck the barriers and simply vanished, absorbed by technology that turned attacks into power for Earth's defenses. Children played in parks while warships fired overhead, protected by shields that had been waiting 800 years for this moment. "Admiral," shouted his tactical officer. "Our weapons aren't working. The humans have some kind of defensive technology that's absorbing our fire." Keithvar watched in disbelief as his scout ships reported the same thing over and over. Every attack was stopped. Every weapon was neutralized. The humans on the surface continued their daily lives as if nothing was happening. "How is this possible?" he demanded. His answer came from the voice that had warned him earlier. The Guardian's words filled every ship in the fleet, coming through their communication systems whether they were turned on or not. "You were told to leave," Marcus Kane said. "You chose to attack instead. Now you will learn why the galaxy was safer when Earth remained silent." On the surface of the planet, something remarkable began to happen. Structures that had looked like ordinary hills and mountains started to change. Metal surfaces emerged from beneath artificial dirt and vegetation. Towers rose from underground silos. Weapon ports opened along coastlines that had appeared completely natural just minutes before. The moon itself began to move. Every Zephyrian in the fleet stared in horror as Earth's natural satellite shifted in its orbit. Massive engines that had been hidden beneath artificial craters ignited with blue fire. The moon turned to face the alien fleet. And when it did, the Zephyrians saw that it was not a moon at all. "Sir," whispered the sensor operator. "The moon is artificial. It's a space station, a weapons platform. The power readings suggest it could destroy our entire fleet." Admiral Keithvar felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career. Fear. Real bone-deep terror that made his forearms tremble. "Get me a connection to Consortium Command. Emergency priority. Tell them we need reinforcements." Tell them the humans are not extinct. But the Guardian was not finished with his demonstration. In the asteroid belt, weapons platforms that had masqueraded as space rocks for centuries began to move. They formed up in battle formations that stretched across millions of miles. Each platform was the size of a city, armed with weapons that could crack planets. Around Jupiter, the structures that had pretended to be moons revealed their true nature. They were shipyards. Massive construction facilities that had been building humanity's true fleet for 800 years. Hangar doors opened and ships emerged, not dozens or hundreds, but thousands. Each vessel was larger than anything in the Zephyrian fleet, and they moved with a grace that suggested technology far beyond what the consortium understood. Elena, Marcus Kane said in the crystal chamber, I need you to understand something. What you're about to see, this is why humans chose exile. This is why we decided the galaxy was safer without us. What do you mean? Elena asked. Kane's expression grew sad. We didn't withdraw because we were weak. We withdrew because we were too strong. The alien technology that saved us from the dying Earth also changed us. It made us into something that could rule the galaxy. But ruling was never what we wanted. He gestured to the holographic displays showing the awesome power being revealed across the solar system. Every world in the consortium combined doesn't have the military strength we're showing right now. And this is just what we built in the first 100 years after we went into hiding. Elena stared at the displays in amazement. We could conquer the entire galaxy easily, Kane admitted. That's why we chose not to. That's why I volunteered to become the Guardian. Someone had to stay awake to make sure we only used this power for defense, never for conquest. On the bridge of the Stellar Dominator, Admiral Keithvar received a response from Consortium Command. The message was brief and terrifying. All available fleets are being dispatched to your location. Do not engage the humans directly. Repeat, do not engage. Intelligence suggests we may have awakened something that was deliberately sleeping. Too late for that, muttered the Admiral as he watched his scout ships retreat from Earth's atmosphere. Every vessel had been disabled without being destroyed. Their weapons were offline. Their engines barely functioned. But they were alive. And that fact carried its own message. The humans could have destroyed them easily. They chose mercy instead. Marcus Kane felt the alien technology pulsing through his enhanced nervous system. With each moment that passed, he became more connected to Earth's vast defense network. He could sense every ship in his fleet, every weapon in his arsenal, every system under his command. The power was intoxicating, and he understood why his predecessors had feared it. Guardian, Elena said quietly. The aliens are retreating. No, Kane replied, studying the tactical displays. They're regrouping. The Admiral has called for reinforcements. This was just the first wave. Kane knew what would come next. The consortium would send everything they had. 7 different alien races with thousands of ships and weapons that could destroy stars. They would come expecting a fight against humanity's hidden colony. They would find something much more dangerous instead. Elena, I need you to send a message to the human settlements, Kane said. Tell them to prepare for a long siege. The consortium won't give up easily. What about you? Elena asked. Kane looked at her with those transformed eyes. The silver patterns in them were growing brighter, and Elena could see circuit traces spreading across his skin. The alien technology was changing him more with each moment he remained active. I'll do what I was designed to do, the Guardian said. I'll protect Earth no matter what it costs. But even as he spoke, Kane knew the real cost would not be to himself. The cost would be to the galaxy's perception of humanity. For 800 years, humans had been seen as extinct, peaceful, gone. After today, they would be remembered as the sleeping giants who had chosen mercy over conquest. That choice was about to be tested in ways that would shake the foundations of civilized space. Above Earth, Admiral Keithvar's fleet pulled back to a safe distance and waited for reinforcements. The Admiral stared at the planet that had seemed so harmless just hours before. Now he could see the truth. Earth wasn't a dead world. It was a fortress, a sleeping weapon that humanity had aimed at the galaxy and then chosen not to fire. "Sir," his communications officer reported. "We're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." "Put it through," Keithvar commanded. Marcus Kane's voice filled the bridge once again, calm and measured. "Admiral, your reinforcements are welcome to come. We have been waiting 800 years for someone to test our defenses properly. Your fleet will help us determine if our preparations have been adequate." "You're threatening the entire consortium," Keithvar replied. "No," said the Guardian. "We're offering you the same choice we made centuries ago. You can leave now and tell your people that some things are better left undisturbed, or you can stay and learn why the galaxy's greatest warriors chose exile over war." The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Keithvar alone with a decision that would determine the fate of both the consortium and humanity. He looked at his tactical displays showing the incredible power that Earth had revealed in just a few hours. For the first time in his military career, the Admiral wondered if some battles were too dangerous to fight. In the crystal chamber beneath Earth, Marcus Kane felt the weight of 8 centuries settling on his shoulders. The alien technology sustained his body, but it could not ease the burden of the choice he carried. He was humanity's guardian, protector, and judge. The decisions he made in the coming days would echo through history. Elena watched him with worried eyes. "Are you all right?" Kane smiled, though the expression was sadder than before. "I'm becoming what I was always meant to be. The question is whether the galaxy is ready for that revelation." Above them, in the depths of space, more ships were coming. The greatest armada in consortium history was assembling to face a threat they didn't understand. They thought they were coming to suppress a human colony. They were actually coming to witness the awakening of the most dangerous guardian the universe had ever known. The emergency session of the Consortium Council had been going on for 6 hours. Representatives from all 7 member races sat around a massive holographic table that spanned several light years. Each delegate appeared as a shimmering projection from their home worlds. The topic of discussion was unprecedented in the consortium's 1,000-year history: the return of humanity. Council leader Zirian, an ancient being whose crystalline body had witnessed the rise and fall of dozens of civilizations, called for order. "The situation in the Sol system has escalated beyond our initial projections. Admiral Keithvar's fleet has confirmed that Earth is not only inhabited, but heavily defended with technology that surpasses our understanding." The Thracian representative, a massive creature with scales like living metal, slammed one of his 6 fists on the table. "This is impossible. Our records clearly state that the humans withdrew from galactic society 800 years ago. They were a minor species with limited technology." "Perhaps our records were incomplete," suggested the ethereal delegate, her voice like wine through crystal chimes. "The older species among us remember the humans differently." All eyes turned to Zirian, whose kind had been exploring the galaxy when most of the current races were still learning to make fire. The ancient being's crystalline form shimmered with uncomfortable memories. "The humans," Zirian said slowly, "were never a minor species. They were dangerous, more dangerous than any race we had encountered before or since. When they chose exile, many of us were relieved." "Explain," demanded the Zephyrian ambassador, Admiral Keithvar's superior. Zirian's form darkened. "They were warriors, yes, but that was not what made them dangerous. They were innovators. They took technology from other races and improved it beyond recognition. They formed alliances with species that had been enemies for millennia. They brought peace to sectors that had known only war." "That doesn't sound dangerous," the Thracian protested. "It was," Zirian replied. "Because they were too good at it, too successful, too powerful. When the humans decided something needed to be done, it got done. When they decided a war needed to end, it ended. When they decided a species needed protection, that species became untouchable. The council chamber fell silent as the implication sank in. They were becoming the rulers of the galaxy without even trying, Zirian continued. Other species began to depend on them for everything. The humans realized what was happening and made a choice that no other race in galactic history has ever made. They chose to give up their power voluntarily. On Earth, Marcus Kane felt the weight of those memories through the alien technology that connected him to the Galactic Information Network. He could sense the fear in the council chambers, the growing understanding of what humanity had really been before the Great Silence. "Elena," he said, "they're starting to remember." Elena looked up from the monitoring station where she had been tracking consortium fleet movements. "Is that good or bad?" "I'm not sure yet," Kane admitted. "Fear can lead to wisdom, but it can also lead to desperation, and desperate people make dangerous choices." The crystal chamber around them pulsed with increasing energy as more of Earth's systems came online. The Guardian's awakening had triggered protocols that had been dormant for centuries. Across the planet, humans were beginning to remember who they really were. In the city of New Geneva, Dr. Sarah Chen received an alert on her personal communicator. She had been living a quiet life as a teacher, helping human children learn about their world's history. But the message that appeared on her screen activated memories that had been sleeping in her genetic code. "Project Renaissance Phase 1, she read aloud. "All personnel report to designated stations." Sarah's eyes widened as suppressed knowledge flooded back into her consciousness. She wasn't just a teacher. She was a military engineer, one of the designers of Earth's planetary defense grid. The quiet life she had been living was a cover, a way to blend in while the Guardian slept. All across Earth, similar scenes were playing out. Farmers remembered that they were actually spacecraft pilots. Shopkeepers recalled their training as weapons specialists. Children playing in parks suddenly understood that their games were actually practice for roles they would one day fill in humanity's true society. The Great Silence had been more than just cutting communications with the galaxy. It had been a complete transformation of human civilization. An entire species had agreed to forget their own power to live simple lives while their guardian watched over them. But now the guardian was awake, and so were they. In the Consortium Council chambers, Admiral Keithvar had been called to give his personal report. His image appeared in the center of the holographic table, showing the stress and fear he had experienced in Earth's system. "Honored Council," he began. "What we discovered in the solar system defies explanation. The humans have not only survived, they have been building. For 800 years, they have been preparing for this day." "Preparing for what?" asked the ethereal representative. "War," Keithvar said simply. "Though they seem reluctant to fight it." He activated his tactical displays, showing the council what his fleet had encountered. Weapon platforms the size of cities, ships that dwarfed anything in the consortium fleet. Technology that could absorb energy attacks and convert them into power. "This is what they revealed in the first hour," the admiral continued. "Our analysts believe this represents less than 1% of their actual defensive capability." "There," the Thrakian representative scoffed. "Impossible. No single planet could hide that much military power." "You're right," Keithvar agreed. "No single planet could. But Earth isn't just a planet anymore. It's the center of a solar system that has been converted into the largest fortress in galactic history." Marcus Kane sensed the growing panic in the council chambers through the alien technology. He could feel their fear like a cold wind across his consciousness. But he could also sense something else. The approach of more ships. Many more ships. "Elena," he said. "How many vessels are heading our way?" Elena checked her displays. "The long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movements from all consortium territories. Conservative estimate, over 10,000 ships." Kane nodded. He had expected this. The consortium would not accept the return of humanity without testing their strength, but they had no idea what they were really facing. "Guardian to all Earth defense stations," Kane spoke, his voice carrying across every human settlement and military base on the planet. Prepare for full system activation. This is not a drill. The response was immediate. Across Earth, hidden doors opened in mountainsides. Entire forests moved aside to reveal launch bays. Lakes drained to expose submarine pens that had been disguised as natural formations. The planet itself began to transform, showing its true nature as humanity's ultimate weapon. But the most dramatic change was happening to the moon. The artificial satellite continued its rotation, revealing more and more of its true structure. Gun ports the size of city blocks opened along its surface. Energy collectors that had masqueraded as craters began to glow with gathered power. Hangar bays large enough to hold entire fleets prepared to launch their contents. Admiral Keithvar watched in horrified fascination as humanity's deception was fully revealed. "Council," he reported, "the moon is not a natural satellite. It's a battle station. Possibly the largest weapon ever constructed." In the crystal chamber, Kane felt the alien technology's influence spreading through his body. His skin now glowed with circuit patterns that pulsed in rhythm with Earth's defensive systems. His eyes had become entirely silver, reflecting the network of information that flowed through his enhanced mind. "Elena," he said, "you should know that I'm changing. The longer I stay active, the more the alien technology integrates with my consciousness. Soon I may not be entirely human anymore." Elena reached out and took his hand. His skin felt warm, but somehow different, as if energy flowed just beneath the surface. "You're still Marcus. I can see it in your eyes." "For now," Kane agreed. But the Guardian Protocol was designed for a single final defense. If this conflict continues, I may have to make choices that human Marcus would never make. Above Earth, the first waves of consortium reinforcements began arriving in the outer solar system. The fleet that assembled was unlike anything in recorded history. Ships from 7 different races, each with their own weapons and tactics, all united in their determination to deal with the human threat. The fleet was commanded by High Admiral Thane Koss, a military genius who had never lost a battle. His flagship, the Void Render, was a super dreadnought capable of destroying planets. Behind him came the pride of 7 civilizations, the Thrakian battle cruisers with their impenetrable armor, the ethereal stealth ships that could phase between dimensions, the crystalline vessels of Xyrion's people that could regenerate from almost any damage. "All ships," Thane Koss commanded, "maintain formation. We are here to demonstrate consortium strength, not to genocide the humans. Our goal is to force their surrender and integration into proper galactic society." But even as he spoke, the High Admiral felt a growing unease. His sensors were showing energy readings from the Sol system that shouldn't be possible. Whatever the humans had been building during their 8 centuries of silence, it was beyond anything the consortium had ever faced. Marcus Kane felt the massive fleet approach like pressure against his expanded consciousness. Through the alien technology, he could sense every ship, every weapon, every plan the consortium commanders were making. The network that connected him to Earth's defenses also connected him to information systems across the galaxy. "They're not coming to destroy us," he told Elena. "They're coming to force us back into their society. They want to control us. Will you let them?" Elena asked. Kane's silver eyes reflected the holographic displays around them. The question was more complex than Elena realized. The alien technology gave him the power to destroy the approaching fleet easily, but destroying them would mean revealing the full extent of humanity's transformation. And that knowledge would terrify the galaxy into an even larger war. "I'll give them the same choice we made 800 years ago," Kane decided. "They can accept that some things are better left alone. Or they can learn why we chose exile over conquest." The Guardian began to reach out through Earth's communication systems, preparing to make contact with the approaching consortium fleet. But he was also preparing for something else, the possibility that words would not be enough and that the galaxy would have to see the true power of awakened humanity. High Admiral Thane Koss was studying tactical reports when his communications officer announced an incoming transmission from Earth. Sir, we're receiving a broad-spectrum message directed at the entire fleet. Put it through, the Admiral commanded. Marcus Kane's voice filled every ship in the consortium armada. When he spoke, it was with the authority of someone who had watched over an entire world for 8 centuries. Consortium Fleet, the Guardian said. You are approaching a sovereign system that wishes no conflict with your government. We ask that you withdraw and allow the galaxy to continue as it has for the past 800 years. High Admiral Thane Koss activated his response transmitter. Human Guardian, the consortium cannot allow a military power of your magnitude to exist outside our authority. You will surrender your weapons and submit to consortium oversight. The silence that followed lasted for exactly 30 seconds. Then Marcus Kane's laughter echoed through every ship in the fleet. It was not a sound of humor, but of sad recognition. Admiral, the Guardian said, you have just made the same mistake that led us to exile ourselves 800 years ago. You assume that power must be controlled by those who fear it. In the crystal chamber, Elena watched as Marcus Kane's transformation accelerated. The circuit patterns on his skin grew brighter. His connection to the alien technology deepened. She could see the moment when the last purely human part of him accepted what he had to become. Elena, he said softly. The galaxy is about to remember why it was safer when we remained silent. Above Earth, 10,000 alien ships prepared to face a defense that they couldn't understand, commanded by a guardian whose power they couldn't imagine. The greatest military force in consortium history was about to discover what humanity had been hiding in the darkness between the stars. The heavens themselves were about to stand frozen in shock. High Admiral Thane Koss stood on the bridge of the Void Render, staring at the tactical display that showed the Sol system in perfect detail. His fleet of 10,000 ships stretched across space in a formation that had taken hours to perfect. Each vessel was positioned to provide maximum firepower while maintaining defensive coverage. It was a battle formation that had conquered star systems and broken the will of entire civilizations. But as the Admiral studied the energy readings from Earth's defensive grid, he began to understand that this battle would be unlike any he had ever fought. Sir, reported his sensor operator, we're detecting new activity throughout the system. The humans are activating additional defensive platforms. On the main display, red dots began appearing faster than the computers could count them. What had seemed like a heavily defended system an hour ago now looked like something beyond military comprehension. Weapon platforms emerged from hiding places that shouldn't have been able to conceal them. Entire asteroids revealed themselves as disguised battle stations. Space itself seemed to be armed and ready for war. How many defensive installations do they have? The Admiral asked. Sir, the sensor operator said quietly. Our computers have stopped counting. The number exceeds our tactical databases. In the crystal chamber beneath Earth, Marcus Kane felt every system as it came online. The alien technology had fully integrated with his consciousness. Now his human appearance remained, but his mind had expanded beyond anything a normal person could comprehend. He was connected to every weapon, every shield, every ship in humanity's hidden arsenal. Elena, he said, though his voice now carried harmonics that made the crystal walls resonate. The consortium fleet is impressive. 10,000 ships representing the best military technology 7 civilizations can produce. Elena watched the tactical displays with growing amazement. Can they break through our defenses? Kane's smile was sad and knowing. They could fight for 1,000 years and never come close. That's the problem. That's why we went into hiding. The Guardian stood and walked to the center of the chamber. As he moved, the crystal floor beneath his feet began to glow. Energy patterns flowed through the walls, responding to his presence. He raised his hand and holographic displays filled the air around him, showing the true scope of Earth's transformation. Look, he said to Elena. Really look. See what we built during our 8 centuries of silence. The displays showed more than just weapons and defenses. They showed an entire civilization that had been rebuilt from the ground up. Humans lived in cities that were actually massive underground complexes. Their farms were covers for industrial facilities that could produce entire fleets. Their schools taught children not just history and mathematics, but the sciences of space warfare and alien technology. Every human on Earth was a soldier, whether they knew it or not. Every settlement was a fortress. Every peaceful valley hid weapons that could devastate planets. Humanity had not just survived their exile. They had used it to become something that the galaxy had never seen before. We became what we were afraid of becoming, Kane said softly. A species so powerful that we could rule the universe without even trying. The only thing that kept us from conquering everything was our own choice to remain hidden. High Admiral Thane Koss received a priority transmission from the Consortium Council. The holographic image of Council Leader Zirian appeared on his bridge, the ancient being's crystalline form flickering with agitated energy. Admiral, Zirian said, our intelligence networks have been analyzing the human defensive capabilities. What you are facing is not just a military installation. It is the culmination of 8 centuries of preparation for this exact scenario. Understood, Council Leader, Thane Koss replied. My fleet is ready for extended combat operations. No, Zirian said urgently. You don't understand. Our projections suggest that the humans have enough firepower in the Sol system to destroy the entire Consortium fleet 10 times over. This is not a battle you can win through superior tactics or numbers. The Admiral felt a chill run through his azure blood. Are you ordering me to withdraw? I'm ordering you to negotiate, Zirian replied. The humans chose exile once before rather than rule the galaxy. Perhaps they can be convinced to make that choice again. But even as the council leader spoke, events in the Sol system were moving beyond the possibility of simple negotiation. Marcus Kane had finished his preparations. The Guardian of Earth was ready to demonstrate exactly what humanity had been hiding. Consortium fleet, Kane's voice echoed through every ship. You have entered sovereign human space with hostile intent. You have been given opportunities to withdraw peacefully. Since you have chosen to remain, you will now witness the consequences of disturbing a sleeping guardian. The first demonstration was subtle. Throughout the Consortium fleet, every ship's computer system suddenly displayed the same message: your weapons are offline. Your shields are offline. Your engines are offline. You are alive by the grace of Earth's guardian, ****. High Admiral Thane Koss checked his tactical displays in disbelief. Every system showed the same impossible reading. Total system failure across his entire fleet. 10,000 ships all rendered helpless in the space of a single moment. How? The Admiral whispered. His answer came from Marcus Kane's enhanced consciousness reaching across space to touch every mind in the fleet simultaneously. It was not telepathy in any normal sense. It was the alien technology using quantum entanglement to create a direct connection between the Guardian's awareness and every living being within a million-mile radius. For just an instant, every Consortium soldier experienced what Marcus Kane experienced. They felt the vast network of Earth's defenses. They sensed the true scope of humanity's hidden civilization. They understood with perfect clarity exactly how outmatched they were. The psychological impact was devastating. Seasoned warriors who had conquered star systems fell to their knees. Commanders who had never known defeat stared at their useless control panels in shock. The greatest military force in galactic history had been neutralized without a single shot being fired. But Kane was not finished with his demonstration. Admiral Thane Companies. The Guardian's voice spoke directly into the Zephyrian's mind. Order your ships to power down their weapons. What I'm about to show you next will require your full attention. The Admiral, still struggling to understand how his fleet had been disabled so easily, gave the order, as if it mattered. None of their weapons were functional anyway. In space around Earth, something extraordinary began to happen. The planet's moon, which had already revealed itself to be an artificial construct, began to transform even further. Massive sections of its surface opened like flower petals, exposing the true scale of the installation within. The moon was not just a weapons platform. It was a construction facility, a command center, and a gateway to technologies that defied everything the consortium thought they knew about science. As its interior was revealed, structures became visible that were clearly not human in origin. They were older, more sophisticated, built by the ancient race that had left their technology behind for humanity to discover. What you are seeing, Kane's voice explained to the paralyzed fleet, is the legacy of the predecessors, the race that came before all of us. They left their technology for someone worthy to find. We found it when we were dying on a poisoned earth. It saved us, but it also changed us. The alien structures within the moon began to glow with power that registered on every sensor in the consortium fleet. Energy readings spiked beyond anything their instruments could measure. Space itself seemed to bend around the ancient technology as it activated for the first time in millions of years. The predecessors built this technology to protect younger races, Kane continued. But they required that any species using it prove themselves worthy through wisdom and restraint. For 800 years, we have been tested. Today, we passed that test. Elena watched from the crystal chamber as Marcus Kane's transformation reached its final stage. The circuit patterns on his skin now covered his entire body, pulsing with the rhythm of the predecessor technology. His eyes had become windows into an intelligence that was both human and something far more ancient. "Marcus," she said softly. "Are you still there?" "I'm here," he replied, though his voice now carried harmonics that seemed to come from the depths of space itself. "But I'm also something more." The Guardian Protocol was never just about defending Earth. It was about becoming the bridge between humanity and the predecessor's legacy. High Admiral Thane Koss found his voice somehow functioning despite the technological shutdown affecting his ship. "Guardian," he called out. "What do you want from us?" Kane's response came not as words but as pure understanding transmitted directly into every mind in the fleet. The message was simple but profound. Humanity wanted nothing from the consortium except to be left alone. They had no desire to conquer or rule. They had spent 8 centuries learning to use godlike power responsibly, and their choice was the same as it had always been: peaceful isolation. But the message also carried a warning. If the galaxy could not accept humanity's choice to remain separate, then humanity would be forced to take a more active role in galactic affairs. And that role would be as protectors and guardians, not conquerors. But the end result would be the same. Human authority would extend across the stars, not through conquest, but through necessity. "You have a choice," Kane's voice spoke to every being in the consortium fleet. "Accept that some power is too great to be controlled by governments and councils. Return to your worlds and tell them that Earth sleeps again, but it watches. Or force us to take responsibility for a galaxy that cannot leave well enough alone." The alien technology within the moon pulsed brighter, and suddenly every member of the consortium fleet could see the future that Marcus Kane saw. If they chose to fight, they would lose. Not just this battle, but everything. Humanity's technology was so far advanced that resistance was meaningless. But more than that, they saw what would happen if humanity was forced to take active control of galactic civilization. It would be gentle. It would be fair. It would be absolutely implacable. Humans would end wars not through conquest but by making warfare impossible. They would solve conflicts not through negotiation but by removing the ability to create conflicts. They would bring peace to the galaxy by becoming its ultimate authority whether they wanted to or not. "No," whispered Admiral Thane Koss as he saw the vision of humanity's reluctant empire spreading across the stars. "We choose to leave you alone." "Wise," Kane replied. "Return to your governments. Tell them that Earth's guardian has awakened and found the galaxy acceptable. We will remain in our system. We will not interfere with consortium affairs, but we will also not tolerate interference with ours." Across the fleet, systems began coming back online. Weapons powered up, engines resumed function, shields reactivated. But every being in the consortium armada understood that this was a gift, not a failure of Earth's defenses. They were being allowed to leave. As the massive fleet began its withdrawal from the Sol system, High Admiral Thane Koss took one last look at the planet that had humbled the greatest military force in galactic history. Earth looked peaceful from a distance, blue and green and beautiful. But now he knew the truth. It was the most dangerous place in the universe, guarded by beings who had chosen mercy over mastery. In the crystal chamber, Elena watched as Marcus Kane slowly returned to something resembling his human form. The circuit patterns faded from his skin. His eyes returned to brown, though flecks of silver remained. But she could see that something fundamental had changed. He was still human, but he was also something more. "Is it over?" she asked. Kane looked at the displays showing the consortium fleet retreating toward the edge of the system. "This part is over, but the galaxy will remember what happened here. Some will fear us more than ever. Others will wonder what other sleeping guardians might be hidden among the stars." "And us?" Elena asked. "What happens to humanity now?" Marcus Kane smiled. And for a moment, he looked entirely human again. "We continue to sleep. We continue to watch. And we hope that the galaxy has learned enough wisdom to leave us in peace." But even as he spoke, Kane knew that this was only the beginning. The demonstration of humanity's power would echo across the galaxy. Some races would accept the lesson and leave Earth alone. Others would see humanity as a threat that needed to be eliminated before it could grow stronger. The Guardian of Earth had awakened to defend his people. Soon he might need to awaken again to defend the entire galaxy from those who would rather destroy it than accept that some power was too great to be controlled. The heavens had stood frozen in shock at humanity's revelation. Now they would have to decide what to do with the knowledge that the universe's most dangerous guardians had chosen to sleep among the stars, watching and waiting for the day when they might be needed again. 3 days after the consortium fleet withdrawal from the Sol system, emergency sessions were being held in every major government center across the galaxy. The demonstration of humanity's hidden power had sent shockwaves through civilized space that would be felt for generations. On the crystal world of Zirian Prime, Council leader Zirian stood before the assembled representatives of the consortium's greatest minds. The ancient being's crystalline form flickered with patterns of deep concern as he addressed the gathering. "What we witnessed in the Sol system changes everything we thought we knew about galactic power structures," Zirian began. "The humans have not just survived their exile. They have evolved beyond our ability to comprehend or control them." The Thrakian representative, General Korax, slammed his armored fist on the conference table. "They made fools of us. 10,000 ships rendered helpless without firing a shot. The consortium's military superiority is a joke compared to what they've built." "Perhaps," said the ethereal voice of many, her form shimmering between dimensions, "but they chose not to destroy us. That choice reveals something important about their intentions." Zirian nodded slowly. "Indeed. The humans could have eliminated our entire fleet in moments. Instead, they demonstrated their power and allowed us to withdraw with honor. This suggests they truly wish to remain isolated. But not everyone in the galaxy was willing to accept humanity's return to prominence so easily. In the dark reaches of the Andromeda Spiral, representatives from the Shadow Collective, species that operated outside consortium law, were planning a very different response to Earth's revelation. Admiral Vexthera, a being whose species had been driven to the galaxy's edge by consortium expansion, studied intelligence reports about humanity's defenses. Her scarred face twisted with calculating hatred as she addressed her allies. "The humans have shown us their hand," she said. "They are powerful, yes, but they are also alone. One system against the entire galaxy. If we can find a way to break their defenses, we can eliminate them before they become an even greater threat." "How?" asked Commander Skull 9, a cybernetic being whose race had been enslaved by the consortium centuries ago. "Their technology is beyond anything we've encountered." "Their technology is ancient," Vexthera replied, "which means it has limits. Every system has weaknesses. We just need to find them. On Earth, Marcus Kane felt the stirrings of these new threats through the quantum networks that connected him to information systems across the galaxy. In the 3 days since the consortium's withdrawal, he had maintained his enhanced state, monitoring galactic reactions to humanity's revelation. "Elena," he said as she entered the crystal chamber with her daily reports. "The galaxy is not taking our demonstration as well as I had hoped." Elena set down her data tablets and looked at the holographic displays surrounding the Guardian. New threat indicators were appearing across the star maps. Fleets gathering in systems that were not part of the consortium. Weapons being developed in secret laboratories. Alliances forming between species that had never cooperated before. "They're afraid of us," Elena observed. "Yes," Kane agreed. "And fear makes people do dangerous things. Some races are planning to attack us before we can grow stronger. Others are trying to develop weapons that might penetrate our defenses. Still others are considering alliances with powers from outside our galaxy." Kane gestured to a display showing the Outer Rim territories. "The Shadow Collective is mobilizing. They see us as a threat to their independence from consortium rule. They think that if they can defeat us, they can prove that no power is truly unbeatable." Elena studied the threat assessments with growing concern. "How many ships are they gathering?" 50,000 from the intelligence I can access," Kane replied. "Plus experimental weapons that might actually pose a danger to Earth's defenses. They've been studying the energy signatures from our demonstration, looking for patterns they can exploit." But the Shadow Collective was not the only threat emerging from humanity's revelation. In the depths of intergalactic space, something else had taken notice of Earth's display of predecessor technology. Kane's enhanced consciousness suddenly recoiled as he sensed a presence that was alien beyond anything he had ever encountered. Through the quantum networks, something was reaching back toward him. Something vast and ancient and hungry. "Elena," he said urgently, "we need to activate the deep space monitoring stations. Something is coming from outside our galaxy. Something that recognizes the predecessor technology." "What kind of something?" Elena asked. But Kane was already reaching out through Earth's defensive network, awakening systems that had been dormant even during the recent crisis. Far beyond the edge of the Milky Way, in the void between galaxies, massive structures began to move. They had been waiting in the darkness for millions of years, watching for signs of predecessor technology activation. The demonstration that had driven off the consortium fleet had also served as a beacon, calling to intelligences that viewed the galaxy as territory to be reclaimed. The harvesters were coming. In the crystal chamber, Kane's transformation accelerated beyond anything Elena had seen before. The alien technology was responding to the new threat by integrating even more deeply with his consciousness. Circuit patterns blazed across his skin like living fire. His eyes became completely silver, reflecting data streams that flowed faster than any human mind could process. "Elena," he said, though his voice now carried harmonics that seemed to come from the depths of space itself. "I need you to understand what's happening. The predecessor technology was not just given to us randomly. We were chosen to be guardians against something specific." "Against what?" Elena asked, though she was beginning to fear the answer. "Against the harvesters," Kane replied. "The race that destroyed the predecessors. They've been sleeping in the void between galaxies, waiting for someone to activate predecessor technology again. Our demonstration 3 days ago was like lighting a signal fire that they could see from billions of light years away." The implications hit Elena like a physical blow. "How long do we have?" Kane's consciousness expanded across space, touching the edge of galactic sensors and beyond. What he saw made his enhanced heart race with alarm. 6 months, maybe less. They're traveling through folded space at speeds that shouldn't be possible. Across Earth, humanity began to wake up to their true purpose. The quiet farmers and teachers and shopkeepers who had lived peaceful lives during the Great Silence felt knowledge stirring in their genetic memory. They remembered that they were not just colonists on a hidden world. They were the chosen guardians of an entire galaxy. In New Geneva, Dr. Sarah Chin stood before a gathering of Earth's hidden leaders. The transformation of human society was happening with startling speed as suppressed memories and training reasserted themselves. The Guardian has called for full activation, she announced. All defensive protocols are now active. All citizens are to report to their designated roles. This is not an exercise. Across the planet, the real scope of humanity's preparation became visible. Cities that had looked normal revealed themselves as massive military installations. Underground facilities that could build fleets emerged from beneath farmland. Training centers that had masqueraded as schools began producing soldiers, pilots, and technicians at a rate that defied belief. Earth was not just defended. It was a factory for defending the entire galaxy. In the crystal chamber, Marcus Kane felt the weight of 8 centuries of preparation settling on his enhanced shoulders. The Guardian Protocol had always been about more than just protecting Earth. It had been about preparing humanity to fulfill their role as the galaxy's ultimate defenders. Elena, he said, I need to tell you something about the choice our ancestors made 800 years ago. They didn't withdraw from galactic society just because they were afraid of their own power. They withdrew because they knew this day would come. Elena stared at him in amazement. They knew about the harvesters. The predecessors left records, Kane explained, hidden in the deep archives of their technology. Our scientists found them during the early years of the exile. They learned that the harvesters would return when predecessor technology was activated on a large enough scale. Earth's leaders decided to prepare for that day rather than warn the galaxy and cause a panic. The full scope of humanity's sacrifice became clear to Elena. For 8 centuries, an entire species had lived in exile, preparing for a war that might never come. They had given up their place in galactic civilization to become secret guardians against a threat that most of the galaxy didn't even know existed. And now? Elena asked. Kane's silver eyes reflected the holographic displays showing threats converging on the Sol system from multiple directions. The Shadow Collective's fleet was forming up in the Outer Rim. Consortium forces were repositioning despite their official withdrawal. And from beyond the galaxy's edge, the harvesters were coming with technology that had once defeated the most advanced civilization in universal history. Now, Kane said, we do what we were designed to do. We protect the galaxy whether it wants our protection or not. The Guardian began reaching out through quantum space, establishing contact with every defensive installation in the solar system. But more than that, he began activating systems that had been built during the early centuries of exile. Systems designed not just to defend Earth, but to carry the fight to the enemy. High Admiral Thane Koss, now leading the consortium's observation force at a safe distance from Earth, received a transmission that made his azure blood run cold. Marcus Kane's image appeared on his command screen. But the human looked different now. More alien, more powerful, more terrifying in his calm certainty. Admiral, the Guardian said, I regret to inform you that your fleet's withdrawal has not ended this crisis. Forces are converging on this system that will threaten not just Earth but the entire galaxy. I am offering the consortium one final choice. What choice? Thane Koss asked, though he dreaded the answer. Accept humanity as the galaxy's protectors, Kane replied. Or watch as we protect you anyway, regardless of your preferences. The transmission ended, leaving the Admiral staring at his tactical displays. New energy readings were coming from Earth, but these were different from the defensive systems that had been revealed before. These readings suggested offensive capabilities that could project power across interstellar distances. On Earth, Elena watched as Marcus Kane made the final transformation from human guardian to something beyond mortal understanding. The alien technology had completely integrated with his consciousness. Now, he was no longer just connected to Earth's defenses. He was Earth's defenses. And more than that, he was becoming the focal point for humanity's true purpose. The galaxy will never be the same, Elena said softly. No, Kane agreed. But it will survive. The harvesters destroyed the predecessors because the predecessors faced them alone. Humanity will not make that mistake. We have had 8 centuries to prepare, and we have prepared well. As if to emphasize his words, reports began flooding in from across human space. The fleet that emerged from Earth's hidden shipyards was beyond anything the galaxy had ever imagined. Ships the size of small moons armed with weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. Vessels that existed partially outside normal spacetime, immune to conventional attack. Technology that made the consortium's most advanced warships look like primitive chemical rockets. But the most important revelation was that Earth was not humanity's only stronghold. Across the galaxy, on worlds that had been written off as dead or uninhabitable, human settlements revealed themselves. Each one was a fortress. Each one was a guardian post. For 8 centuries, humanity had been secretly preparing the entire galaxy for the war that was coming. The harvesters would find not an unprepared galaxy ruled by squabbling civilizations, but a fortress galaxy defended by guardians who had spent 800 years learning to use the predecessor's legacy responsibly. Marcus Kane, the guardian of Earth, felt the network of human defenses activating across the galaxy. His consciousness expanded to touch every installation, every ship, every guardian who had volunteered to become more than human in order to protect those who remained human. Elena, he said, though his voice now carried the weight of worlds. Tell the historical records that humanity's exile is over. Not because we chose to return, but because the galaxy needs guardians, and we are the only ones who can fill that role. In the depths of space, the harvesters continued their approach toward a galaxy they thought would be easy prey. They had no idea that they were about to face the children of the predecessors, a race that had learned not just to use ancient technology, but to improve upon it. The final battle for the galaxy's survival was about to begin, and humanity was ready.